What's up, Calvin? How you doing
Yo,
today?
I don't know. I'm feeling a little different. I'm feeling a little energetic.
Feeling
Or
a little
or you?
strange.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just gotta stretch. Yeah, we're in the future,
Well,
dude. We're in the future. This is it. This is the
so,
future of everything. Nobody wants to see faces. We only want cute anime characters.
actually, there really is. There's a this has happened before, but there's like yet another K-pop virtual group that came out like 2 weeks ago. Where it's all virtual people. Obviously, since they don't have to sing and dance, or they don't have to sing and dance live, they can just like sing in the background. So it's pretty incredible. Yeah. Four virtual avatars just doing K-pop.
Yeah, look,
So
we've both been obviously seeing this, the rise of just constant, look, if you're on Twitch, if you're on a lot of different platforms, even just YouTube and stuff like that too, just you'll see just a constant rise of VTubers, and they're all using different software. They're all using custom stuff, and why not try it out for just like a minute? Why not just go and try it out for a second? So,
both our eyes are just blinking
oh,
in
dude,
the
sorry.
worst way.
This is what I guess what happens when you get the free version of the thing, and you have poor lighting and you have everything else. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my god. So we're
Hey, it hides all these dark circles I have, so I love this.
stop. Yeah, get rid of the hangover. Are you kidding me? Amount of times I've had to just sit here and just be like, oh, I'm fucking, fucking, yeah, games,
Yeah,
dude. Yeah,
you can't
games,
tell.
games. So, what software are you using?
I'm using VTube Studio. I didn't really try them all out. It was just kind of the first one I saw.
Yeah, I think it's the top one when you search VTuber
Yeah.
on Steam. I'm also using a Steam client of just I think it's just literally called VTuber of the free version. They give you couple of different models, couple of different backgrounds and stuff like that. I didn't really see the whole like bottom side like love thing in there. Interesting that it's backwards, but I guess it's supposed to be like showing to me or whatever like that. But what
Yeah.
do you think so far? Like when you looked at the app itself, like how featured was it? How many different features, how many
You know, I
integrations and stuff were there?
I thought for sure the free one was gonna be like, hey, here's two avatars and you gotta buy the rest. But actually it lets you download from Steam Workshop. So I had access to like hundreds of models immediately. So I was impressed with that.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know if this one had integration with the Steam Workshop like that, but if it did, yeah, I didn't notice it at all. It did have some Twitch integration, some Twitch plugins and stuff like that, but a lot of it is kind of locked. This one actually has like full body tracking. You can put up your hands and everything like that, but you don't get that as part of the free version.
Oh, I
Um,
see.
which was, I mean, I think it's pretty sweet, in general. Like if you have that out of the box, we're just doing AI tracking now through your webcam. It weirdly makes me think of there's the guy who hacked the first iPhone, jailbroke the first iPhone, is going about car automation in a completely different way than all of these other, big car manufacturers are doing it,
Interesting.
by taking just a basic phone or a couple of phones or whatever and just applying like a box to the back of the rear view mirror and using that to basically try to drive autonomous driving. And there's obviously a ton of issues, roadblocks, hurdles with all of that, but it's cool to see what we can just do now with the world of just, I don't know, is this machine learning? This is machine learning. But just how quick though we've gotten to it. Tracking like
Yeah.
this, back in the Connect days,
Oh my god.
was it was brand new. Like
Yeah.
it was like a big undertaking to be able to just be like, hey, like look at this image, process it, figure out where the joints are, where the pieces are on anybody's body, and I think that's pretty sweet. Like how far we've kind of come with it all,
Yeah, and I
even if it
we
has led to this. It's led to this.
the pinnacle.
The
But
pinnacle of
yeah,
success.
the what was it this week? They also, I mean, we're not gonna go. There's just so much AI news. Like we're not gonna go too far into it,
No,
but
no, that's a whole
they
thing
had
by itself.
like this week Google showed AI where you can prompt the AI and then it gives you music. So there's a lot of music AI generate or content generators out there, but this was the first where you're just like, I want reggae drums with a 70 beat with a rising synth and all this stuff, and it did a decent job at doing that. So uh, again, it's like what you said with like the low cost cameras. It's just like getting more and more simple and more accessible
Accessible,
for
right?
everyone. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, exactly,
yeah. For good or for bad, what do you think?
exactly. Hmm. Obviously good because of what we're doing right here, right now. This is what I always wanted to do.
This is great. I love this. I actually like this a lot more. Usually I rip the thumbnail. I'm just grabbing, all I'm looking for is like the best face that Calvin makes to put it into the thing. He's so fucking photogenic in our thumbnails.
Now we're just gonna get one where both of us have one eye open because oh my god, I don't know why it keeps doing that.
Yeah. So what do we want to chat about today?
I think we wanted to just because Ludum Dare happened, and we were kind of going through it games on itch, and it's just kind of interesting to I think the amount of good stuff and innovation you see on these platforms are not only high, but they're increasing. So I think it was kind of worth talking about those at first, and then kind of linking it to like the overall trends in the industry,
Yeah.
and discussing that.
Yeah, so the Deconstructor of Fun posted their
Yeah.
2023 predictions for the
Oh yeah.
year, and they're harrowing. They're
Yeah.
definitely harrowing.
Yep.
So we're gonna go and
The
look
o-
into those in a little bit, but in a big portion of this then too is like more and more people on PC, the platforms are fragmenting. I think
yeah.
that not everybody is going to directly to Steam for all of their stuff. I mean, we're seeing more and more, engagement with a lot of other platforms. Like I'm on Epic all the time. I'm grabbing every free game that I can get off of the Epic Game Store, and I love that. Whether or not I bloody play them or not is a big
Yeah.
different
It's like
story. But you know, I'll take a free game, especially ones that are decent of high quality of these smaller independent studios and everything else like that. So I don't know. Is my camera glitching out? I can't really tell. It just
no,
looks
looks fine to me.
okay.
You're
Crap.
fine.
Um, and in doing so, we're seeing some trends of just like almost like soft launching the game is all through itch with
Yeah.
links out to basically the wish list of Steam so that people are kind of ready for that like global launch, right? So the demos are not necessarily going up to the demo page is kind of the itch page, but once the game goes live, like the audience is kind of already there, the eyeballs can be there, um, and you can you're not trying to like wade through the sea of
Yeah.
games that are always going up there like day one type of stuff, right? Like I don't know, there was this couple of statistics a couple of years ago, like how many games go up on Steam every single day, how many of them go live, and I can't remember, but it's like it's enough of a number that it makes it difficult enough to get through, right?
Yeah.
And like I don't know, itch has this interesting thing where the quality bar is either very game jammy, very very poor, or unbelievably well done. Um, there's like a weird dichotomy between the two, and I think that allows you to kind of cut through the noise a little bit more if you can really put something polished up onto itch that you can really get some more eyeballs, I think, a little bit quicker. But I don't know about how you feel yourself. Like you make games, independent games. You've put a bunch up onto itch over the years. How do you feel penetration is? When you get a game up there into that platform, and it's ranked, like how does the ranking end up feeling for you? Like, is your game discoverable? Um, when you put it up, do you get is there can you see it featured? You know what I mean? How does that stuff work for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's actually it's in some ways still a bit like Steam where when you put it up you're gonna go against a lot of competition, but it's just like not nearly as bad as Steam. Like for example, when you put up a game during Ludum Dare as a part of Ludum Dare, there's also like, a few thousand people also doing that. So if you're not like a top-ish game, you actually will get buried as well.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put down an itch game like during a random time when there's no big jams going on, I think you seem to have a lot better chance. So I guess I would keep it in mind that way. Like you still got to be a little bit careful about competition, but I mean you can get some real steam if you end up being a top game.
Yeah, for sure. But we wanted to try and highlight a couple of games that we saw, maybe some creators that we might follow on there. I definitely I don't follow too many individuals, but I do follow at least one that I've kind of fallen in love with their style and really enjoy and keep coming back to their little experiences and stuff like that too.
Okay, yeah, let me stream. All right, which games do you want to go through?
Let's just start with yours. Pick one, and then I'll go with one, and we'll go from there.
Okay, in that case, maybe I can stream a little bit of the game because I already went through the intro.
Yay, games!
A
Hee.
little bit of Mario there. All right. All right, is my stream going through?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Okay.
I gotta put on my
Okay.
glasses. I'm friggin' blind.
Okay.
So
So
how
this was a game.
do I
Oh,
want to do this? No, you're good.
yeah.
I kind of want
This
to
was a
keep us
game
on
I
the
saw.
screen. Yeah, keep going. Just keep
Oh,
going.
this was a game I caught on the top list, and it's kind of a side-scrolling Vampire Survivors, which in itself is something I haven't even seen before, as obvious as it sounds.
Sure.
But yeah, you can switch between a couple shots, and as you can see, it has the same chaos as a Vampire Survivors, or what they like to occasionally call Bullet Heaven. These
Yeah.
types of games. So you go, you can pick up
So
upgrades.
are things
Uh,
automatically
they're not
firing?
automatic shooting actually, so
Oh,
that is
okay.
different. You have a little
Yes.
bit of risk reward here, where you can choose if you want to steal, which makes the enemies get stronger. But I am going to level up and then level up by picking coins, and then you pick 3 card upgrades.
Yeah, the first thing I
But and
see
you
is I really like the very solid definition on the damage radiuses of the
yeah,
abilities.
yeah, exactly. Good
Um,
observation.
yeah, feels very
It's
Final
kind of
Fantasy
League,
esque.
yeah, or League of Legends type aiming.
Yeah, but the actual some of the there's one that you did that's like yeah, that one where the you have the circle radius at the outside of the whole thing. It's
Yeah,
very highly defined. But this game looks great.
yeah.
All
I
original
mean, you can.
graphics, I guess.
It seems like it, and you can tell from like the level up text that I don't know. Just as a gamer, when you see something like this, you're like, oh, it's gonna have depth. That's
Hmm.
and then here's the stat screen. I mean, it's dense, but you're like, oh, I'm gonna get a lot out of this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So who made
So
this
hopefully,
one?
this is made by a guy named. Well, I don't know if this is his. He goes by Play with Furcifer, which is the name of the game. So I don't. I think he has other games though. Let me see. Yeah, he has some other ones.
Nice fire
So
text
yeah, this
generator.
that's who
Fuser,
did
is this the one? Fuser's Fungen?
it. Yeah, it is.
Nice.
Yep, this game here, and let me get back to the main menu because that's actually why I was most interested. Oh,
Oh, that's
impressive.
sick.
Yeah. So I know this is dense, but the part that I think is most interesting Oh, by the way, yeah, there's characters with different stuff. But this game has, well, first off, it has co-op, which is actually pretty rare for the genre.
Sure, of course.
But in the lower right, you got your Steam button, your Discord button, and your YouTube button. So it goes right here. We're gonna blank that out. It
Goes right to their YouTube page.
yeah, you got a few thousand views on their things, and then lastly there. Yeah, their Discord has a few hundred people in there. So, I mean, this is what I think is what everyone needs to do. If they're gonna go down this route, it's like there's like the Steam prologue thing as well, but I don't know. I don't see why you shouldn't um, just do another avenue of
Yeah.
putting yourself.
Well, even just, you know what I mean, where the devil cat is, right? Like on the die, I should say. Call to action straight there. Wish list the full game.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting called out for doing it. How long was this made for a jam? I'm guessing not.
No,
Obviously, this is
I don't think it would.
yeah.
No.
So this is another one of these people. We're putting out the demo version over here. We're instantly getting eyeballs um, into the embedded player,
Yeah.
which is pretty awesome. That I mean, some of these games are pretty large, right? Like when I was looking through, a base Unity game can be 100 meg very quickly. Of just taking that thing and just sticking it up anywhere. So being able to make like a WebGL version that works decently, obviously that has its own limitations in terms of there's only certain things that we can render in the web version of the game.
Yeah.
Shaders don't necessarily always work and everything else like that, but taking into account all of those things, I think this looks pretty sweet. The UI is great. They've like that's very Diablo in terms of
Yeah.
its like size and structure. So what are the stats on that? Combat what?
Uh,
Scroll down to that thing. Thor's
yeah.
hammer
This is
plus 04. Contact
yeah.
damage, electricity damage, and effect damage.
It's got some unique ish stuff for the genre.
Mm-hmm.
Like this hammer just flies around hitting things at all times.
And
It's
that's
simple, but I
like
don't think I've seen that.
that's like the core ability for that character.
You can bring 2 of these extra items into the game. I only have one on the left. So you
Oh,
can see
okay.
there's like 30, 40, 50 some items.
Oh. That is pretty sweet. What's the book do in the top left?
This is you choose your 2 main
Abilities.
elements, I
Okay.
guess. Yeah.
So a lot to discover, a lot to figure out, letting you know that
Yeah.
up front, kind of giving you, hey, here's this book, but here's like only 2 kind of slots within that thing kind of filled out.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
and do any of the chip things at the bottom, do they do anything? Are these the world,
Um,
or is
you know,
that's the
I
weapons that you found or discovered or
yeah,
something?
exactly. It's like a lightning chip, and then they have weapons attached to them. I'm not sure why I guess that's this poker gambling theme.
Yeah, but I like that because it's again, it's like a collection log right there on the front. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a measurement of your progress within the game. Have you discovered everything that the demo has to offer? And it really tries to push the player into like, hey, go to discover everything else that there is here, right? Um,
That's a really good call. Yeah,
yeah, which it's all here right on the front page, right in front of you as soon as you get in. So there's not just this whole like, hey, just play it and see where you get to, and hope that players find your depth or find all of the content that you've created. It like really
exactly.
tries to like push the player into, hey, everything's here. Like, what I mean, and we'll let you know, run by run by run. What have you
Yeah,
found? What have you not found?
and maybe in the full game they don't have this, so that is not overwhelming. Like, like you said, it could just be used as an advertising technique. But
Yeah.
either
Well, sweet. That's awesome. I like that one a lot.
cool.
Hell yeah. Oh, some talent. Oh, we get a little dialogue options too. If we've been lingering on the page for a hot minute, nice,
Yeah. Oh yeah, it has this pretty big talent tree it teases you with.
nice. So yeah, look forward to seeing this in the next couple of iterations. I'll definitely have to wish list this one.
Yeah. All right. Which one? Which game do you want to highlight?
Let's just I mean, let's just look at the. I can't remember the list now. There's like a couple of these
Oh,
I posted into our chat.
okay. Yeah. This was one you linked to me.
Yeah, so
Or
I was trying to. Yeah, let's see. So, um, randomly, I years ago or whatever, I ended up downloading one of these games called Terracotta, and it sat on my computer on my hard drive. And when I was doing a cleanup of my hard drive, I realized that I was like, "What is this?" Right? Like, I don't know what this is. So I clicked it, and it was a Unity game. It was a or an EXE, and I started playing it, and I just genuinely like fell in love with the art style of this game. So this is by this person called Olivia Haynes or Hines. Um, they have a Twitter page. You can go go follow them there. But going back, and I started like looking through, and this was very simple. It was just a walking experience where you just walk around a town, but the town was beautifully crafted. The scene in, by itself was a little eerie, but also, just quite kind of like light and in the same way. It was a very unique style or I felt like it was a very unique style, all handcrafted by this person Olivia, and I then started going back and going into all of their games, and Heaven is the newest one that they've put out. This one I think came out like 27 days ago or something like that. I haven't gotten a chance to play it just yet. I'm kind of looking forward to it. And the thing is not all of these things are necessarily games. Like a lot of them are just like virtual, just experiences. Just nice environments, cool ideas. Like, and I like that as a self expression type of thing, right? It's we don't necessarily need to go into crazy mechanical depth if you're playing into your strengths, right? This person's strength is obviously art, but obviously they can probably go deeper and craft something interesting that's like much more like a bigger, fuller fledged game, you know what I mean, or anything like that too. But it also says like, does it have to be? If you're just putting out nice experiences to engage a player, make them feel good for a couple of moments, and you're really just trying to get those things in front of players' eyes, like this itch is a great place to be doing those things. But let's see, go back if you don't mind to their page real quick. So the other game that I played was Dream Street, one of their older ones. It's at the bottom there, and it really was just kind of like a click through, talking about their story, their time, how they were feeling about moving into a new space to call home, and again it was very very simple, but almost like this still is like a nice painting by itself, right? Like a postcard or post stamp type of way, and it doesn't look like a lot of effort, but a lot of effort went into it. A lot of thought went into how the transitions were going to work. They're trying to really tell you the story for themselves, and I to be honest, like I believe in those types of things, right? Like I think that's the perfect this is the perfect place for games like this, right? Or experiences like this. And I appreciate that, honestly. A calming experience. We don't always have to be going out and shooting things and killing things and winning points and doing everything like that. I think that just highlighting an emotional story, and trying to convey that as best as possible, I think is a beautiful thing, honestly.
Yeah.
But
Do
yeah,
you know if this person has like a Patreon or something?
I don't think that they have a Patreon.
Yeah.
I took a look, but I mean their website's down, sadly. So
Mm,
I'm hoping that they, find some success with this stuff, and just keeps going.
yeah.
And it's good to see. I think that they are, obviously, with the newer stuff coming out, but it felt very a little bit like your kind of stuff too, right? They've really made up their page. They've really put their
Yeah.
stuff out here, and I mean this is the thing that I tell people when we're thinking about resumes, or like how do you transition from like the indie space into more of a AAA experience or place like this. And to me it's things like this. Like Escapes is something that I'm really interested to see, but just look at all of these icons, I mean, just as like the thumbnail by themselves. I think a lot of these are extremely engaging for me. Like Escapes is really high up there, Dollhouse is high, Terracotta is the one that really got me. Like this world looks full, it looks well proportioned, defined in its own style. So like every building is unique, but every building fits. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not like this wandering thing. And I mean, it's just it's good to see. I mean, I hope that these people again are finding the success that I think that they deserve within their own space. But to be a creative and to put anything out into the world, I think is a difficult thing, and to kind of wear your heart on your sleeve, put it into a playable experience, and put it up online, I think is, kudos to anybody who goes and does that.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of funny because certainly in the past and still now, people are like, "Oh yeah, your resume is gonna be your GitHub." But man, I could see for like the game industry, your itch page actually being like your resume or portfolio rather,
Yeah.
and just presenting that it's so clean.
Look, if there's two different sides of this. Obviously, this is somebody coming at it from more of the art side of things, right? Too. Other people who are coming at it from the more the developer side, right? Let's just say like the Fungin game that we were looking at. There's complexity and depth within that. There's subsystems that person can talk to, how they implemented them, how they went about, status effects, how they went about their, creating new content, how they went about the ability system within the game, how they layered on all of the character balance within talents, upgrades, and everything else like that to make the player either feel overpowered or underpowered at different stages in the game. Those are the things that if I'm seeing your resume and you've never worked at like a big studio before, like that's what I want you to talk to. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to see that one, you shipped a game, right? You were able to complete it, really, hone in that thing, and not just put a game up on online, right? A lot of the big thing is that last 20%, that polish,
Yeah,
that the hardest part. And I think that every one of these is a very polished experience, right? Like this person has very clearly like play tested through their stuff, thought about like how they want to present it, thought about each interaction, and then honed in each one of those things, and not just like built it first pass and then said, all right, cool, like let's go, like that's it, we're done, move on to the next thing. So um, to me, like this rings truer than if people put down on their resume that they worked at this place or at this place at this place. It's like if you can show me your work and really talk to it, like that'll get you in the door, in my opinion. At least to an interview.
absolutely.
At least to an interview.
Yeah. And the biggest thing about this page for me, I thought this was really unusual, is all these games are almost totally different, which is first off, that's something I look for in general
Mm-hmm.
for a designer. If I see a itch page where they're like doing a lot of different stuff, like I usually have high hopes for their ability. But for someone who's really focused on aesthetics, I find this to be rare because usually they tend to stick with the same thing, like
Yeah.
stick with what works. But in this case, I'm like, holy crap, they're really experimenting, showing their chops.
Yeah. So check out Olivia. Um, check out what's it called, livy.hio. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna be playing Escapes later on in the week for sure.
Cool. All right, you linked a few other ones.
Yeah,
There's
you got any
Bob.
more?
Yeah, there's Baba Files Taxes. I know this was another top one.
Yeah. So this is a very simple thing. Baba is You is obviously is a was a big game that came out. I think started on itch, if I remember. Maybe it didn't,
Oh,
but
maybe.
uh, Baba's You kind of, on the indie scene was a big hit. A very unique puzzle game where you could change kind of the rules and mechanics changed per object that you were, and you could tell like, well, Baba is a stone or Baba is a rock, and if you're a rock, well, a rock can't move. It's an inanimate object, and so you're kind of stuck and you wreck yourself. But this person took inspiration from obviously from that game and made just this very simple one mechanic driven experience that I kind of enjoyed, right? So what Baba is doing is filing taxes, but the thing that you do is it's a case study for how you can take one mechanic and drive it through your game. So this person made this, very simple drawing mechanic where you could all you really did was tick boxes, read through some text, click a next button, and write Baba, uh, where you're defined to do. Uh, when you get to the end of the whole thing, they show you the ranking of how well you wrote Baba throughout the game, and they give you like a point
Oh,
score of how
is
you
that
did
why
it.
this person is drawing so slow?
Yeah, they're also reading the text and doing it,
Okay.
everything like that, right? But
Okay, that's fun.
it's funny because I loved this image on the left hand side because I think if anybody does taxes, I think this is like a lot of how people feel when they're doing it.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
like agony, just like absolute turmoil. Great timing, great timing.
yeah.
Um, but if you skip a little bit then towards the end, it's funny because like as a player, you start to get a little burnt out by writing Baba over and over and over again, and
Yeah.
you see your stuff, kind of, that you're kind of like not doing it to the best of your ability. Um, but if we go a little bit further, go to like the yeah. So the next day, you're done. You throw your taxes up. It just tells you what are taxes, which I think a lot of people. If, I have friends that are like this. I absolutely have had friends that are like this. And then this is where you get then your little point score. So
Oh, wow.
your first one you write is your original version that you do on the very first page, and then they
Oh,
pattern match you against it as you go through the game. So
I see.
it's funny because you can see the numbers start to deteriorate as you kind of progress through the game and as you
Yeah.
progress through your taxes. And I think that's like I think that was a nice little call. But again, single mechanic. All we're doing here is like, hey, like I want to work on a drawing mechanic. Well, okay, great. Like, what can I do with that, and how do I wrap that into a small, like, meaningful experience, but also a learning moment for the developer. And this is a 5 to 7 minute, playable, and it doesn't need to be a full game, but the fact that they were able to take that learning moment of like, hey, like I just want to make this and I want to make this thing and then drive it through something, I think is a pretty sweet affair.
Yes. Yes. I originally saw this and I just glossed over it because I don't know. I was like, oh, is Baba Is You is going to be kind of some parody. I didn't think it was going to be something clever. But so in this case, I'm really glad you showed it to me. And there's a lot of other hidden gems here.
Yeah.
And actually, I want to talk to your point real quick. Yeah, it is. I think it's really important as a designer to notice some interesting aspect of either life or another game, and then explore it further. Because I know somebody that he played through Franken, and he was like, I really like this combat mechanic that I haven't seen in other games, and he decided to make like a little prototype around that. So it's this designer eye to pick up unique stuff that other people aren't,
Yeah.
uh, which will really help you.
Hell yeah. So this is by Hempelai. They only have one game. It's only this one. So,
Hmm.
you know, again, like, I don't think that you need to. They don't have a built out page. They haven't put a ton of effort into, like showing off a lot of their stuff. Oh, okay. My bad. I thought I only saw the one. I clicked one link.
Oh, this is a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. Nah,
Good.
I'll take it all back. Yeah, no.
Wait a minute. This is the Baba Is You creator?
Oh, is it?
Oh, now I feel silly.
Wait, is it really?
It seems like it. Here's a jam build.
Oh, I'm a dumbass. Well,
No,
whatever.
no, it's even more. Wow, he keeps experimenting with the thing.
Well, great. I mean, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah,
Good for
even
them.
better.
Yeah, even
Yeah,
better.
even
Hey,
better.
oh yeah. Look at that right there. Fair play to them. I'm an idiot. Don't worry about
Yeah.
it. I clicked one button and it took me to one page, so I'm dumb.
No,
Um,
it's good. I didn't know the creator because he only has one game, mostly attributed it to him.
yeah, but
Uh,
I still think that the point rings true.
Absolutely.
If if you just want to make one thing and you want to make one thing as just even a learning experience and making that one thing, try to drive it through an entire experience and just make like a 5 to 7 minute, fun thing. But yeah,
Yeah, and he's basically building his own brand.
exactly.
Really,
Yeah,
really good. So it's good.
yeah. Gonna sell T-shirts. Hell yeah.
All right, the next one you linked to me is Fears to Fathom.
Yeah. So this was cool. Um, Again, this one is now top rated on Steam, or not on Steam but on itch. Bunch of people playing it. I feel like I keep seeing Markiplier on almost everything that I see, which is its own thing by itself. But the thing that I wanted to talk about with this game mostly was how well proportioned. This is a very atmospheric horror game. um, the world itself is very low poly, but is very well proportioned and well lit, and it really shows true of just like, hey, if you don't need to be great at graphics. Like, I feel like Postal, um, which this felt very much like in terms of graphic style, has shown that like if you can make a world feel living, and and put the time into even just like, hey, like the blinds are just plain and I'm gonna put a white material texture on it, and the doorposts are all just very primitive, objects. Like everything could be built in hammer basically. You can really try to get a concrete playable out of not a whole lot, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I think that to me is the thing that kind of caught me with this game, is just that it was well lit. The world felt full, like the rooms made sense, and everything was could be done relatively quickly by somebody who didn't necessarily have like a great knowledge of 3D graphics. You know what I mean? You don't need to go into Blender and have to go and learn that entire pipeline to go and do it. Like you could just hack it all together within the one experience.
Yeah, yeah.
But it really highlights that there's a lot of horror games on itch.
There sure is.
There's a lot of horror games on itch, and some of them are better than others, obviously, but some of them really do highlight, like, if you're looking to try and really build that intensity without a whole lot going on, without a whole lot of jump scares. This was a great example, I think, for that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was about to ask about that. So it's kind of like a psychological horror
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
Right.
So you don't know what's really going to happen, but you're just kind of going through your thing. You're just going through your afternoon, and I'm not going to ruin it. So I mean, play it, check this stuff out.
Yeah, I'll say this as a general idea about itch games. So I mean, it is it is definitely harder on Steam to randomly click on something and see something new. Usually I mean, they're trying to make money there, but itch with it, given that it has a lot more free games and experiences, it just seems like people are more willing to experiment because they don't have anything on the line. They don't need to adhere to um, uh, the market. So, I think if you're looking for new ideas, it is actually pretty easy to hit the front page of itch. Some fly through the horror stuff because for whatever reason, horror games just take up the front page. I'm not entirely sure why,
Yeah,
but
they get engagement. They do get
yeah, yeah,
engagement. People are
yeah,
always looking for a good horror game. They're looking for a good spook.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but this one definitely felt great. And just again, just somebody spent a lot of time building the atmosphere and the lighting within this game, and I think that there's a lot to be learnt from just looking how things are lit and how the space by itself is created. I think
no,
most of it just occurs. You're just in this home, so it's not even like a big play space. But if you think back to like PT, I love that idea as a game designer of just like, how do I build a game that's based out of two corridors, right? Two rooms, two
yeah,
corridors. That's it. That's all you got, and you got to go and make that. I think that that's an amazing design constraint, and to make that meaningful, and to make it interesting, I think is a big deal.
yeah. I agree. I'm a big fan of constraints, and it pushes you in directions that could reap a lot of rewards. So I definitely agree.
Yeah. This person's put out uh, another one of these like build your brand type of things. They're they have their own style that they've honed in on. They're building this epilogue story between all of these different games, right? The Carson
Nice.
House, the Hitchhiker, and Home Alone. And I think that, yeah, like if you can hit into that style and you can find something that works for you, I mean, there's then you can kind of like keep ringing that string through a bunch of different games. You don't necessarily need to just go and build one thing and it all has to be in that one thing. Like you can build it in pieces and put it out there and keep on pushing that down the line, right? Especially if the stories kind of compound or overlap later on. But something else that like I remember blog writers would say, is that if you're trying to write a book, you don't necessarily need to write every single the whole book before you release it. You could write a page at a time, put it up on your blog, and by the time that you have 128 pages of in your blog, you could compile that now into a story. Like you can compile that now into the book, right? You can gain a retaining audience of people that will keep coming back for the bite-sized pieces, and then once it's all ready and all together, then you can really hone in and refine, like, and build that thing into one big package, and
Totally.
and ship that as like the major thing that you're selling. And I kind of like that, by itself. But we've been talking about this whole thing of this idea of low cost, medium effort. Um, building these more 2 hour experiences, 3 hour experiences, putting them up for $4 or $5, and trying to find a return on those types of things. If you can really sit there and craft that experience into something meaningful, then people will engage, or should engage, if you can get the eyeballs. And you know there's some graphic design flair and on all of this types of stuff. But Yeah, just what was this?
Yeah,
Rail. Yeah.
Rail.
So
There's one other thing I think it's pretty important, especially with this one. So in our 2023 predictions, I said there is going to be some company that finds a way to make an instant franchise. They try to make a franchise out of pretty much nothing. And you can kind of start seeing it here. People are creating their own brands and franchises over itch. And this is very, very important because of what we're going to talk about next, which is the state of the games industry. And just to really sum up why it matters is because getting eyeballs on your game is going to be so hard in the future. It's going to cost more. It's very grim. So you need to really bring people into your games somehow and also retain them longer than normal.
yeah.
And one of the ways to do this is brand. The Baba is you guy is he's like, all right, I'm gonna slap Baba on everyone now. And it pulled people in. It pulls people in. I even though I did not click on it because I thought it was a fan game, I it caught
Yeah,
my eye.
I
I was
thought
like,
I thought it
oh.
was a fan game too. I absolutely thought it was absolutely
Yeah. I was
hundred
like,
percent.
I almost clicked it, but I didn't. So yeah.
No,
So do we want
I
go ahead.
like that. No, I like that totally. There's a side point there that people might say, and I think you've run into this in the past as well too. Is like, well, what happens then if somebody just looks at this and then just tries copying it, right? Like the
Yep.
more that you put it out, the more that it becomes, eyeballs on, the more inspiration that you start sticking out into the creative world, that people start trying to copy your style to not capitalize on what you're doing, but you know, original thought is hard, right? And I
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily call these things original, but they are original works in creation, and they've been crafted, honed, and built in a certain way to get the player to feel a certain way as you're
Yeah.
going through. And I think that's the hard thing to replicate. I'm not worried if you make a good experience by itself. I'm not worried about people then trying to take inspiration from your work and then pump that forward into their own stuff. You know what I mean? I think the problem becomes when they really like take your graphic design stuff and all your thumbnails and really like you know they almost like cross pollinate into your brand. And I think like one version of that is like we saw it with like Slender Man. You know what I mean? We saw the original, you know, very simple game jammed game, demo of Slenderman, and way back when, I don't know how many years now, and how many different versions then did we see of that, go out into the public domain right
Right.
afterwards, So I don't know what your thoughts are on, you know, it, the risk of bite-sizing your experiences versus like whole hogging them into one thing, but I, you
I
know,
uh I think everything you said is totally accurate. But I do think that when you do create a brand or a franchise, that actually acts as a moat, because if someone was to create a game, like if this guy was continue pushing further and Fears to Fathom was really a unique experience to him. If clones came up, people would be like, "Oh, you know what? This is just a Fears to Fathom clone." So
yeah.
I think you can actually protect yourself
But also,
this way.
does that? Do you feel like that can get eyeballs to your product then at that side as well too? Right? Like, so if
Oh,
other people are making stuff in the same vein, but they can't. See, I always say that they're these people who are copying are replicating, right? They don't
yeah,
have the secret sauce. They don't have the eye for what you're trying to do. They're just looking at it and then saying like, "Oh, like I'll do something like that," right?
yeah,
But they're not necessarily able to like get the tone that you're really trying to put through, or maybe they're not as good as the lighting that you are, or they're not able to like place the props in the right positions to really direct the player. So they become a little bit more muddy, they become a little bit more messy. And direct clones are a little, are a freakier deal. If somebody's just going to copy your stuff wholeheartedly and then go from there, like that's unfair. But I still think that it's not the biggest thing to worry about necessarily.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it
clutching your
can go either
pearls.
direction. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, like don't clutch your pearls when it comes to ideas, right? Or you know, share them, but building these experiences and getting them done to a high quality bar is hard to replicate.
Yeah, I think so. All
Um,
right, we got about 15 or 15 minutes. Do we want to rush
oh,
through?
serious? Yeah, okay. Fuck, I didn't
All
think
right.
that was gonna take that long. Okay, we got one more if you don't mind.
Oh, one more.
Just
Okay.
one more. I just want to talk about this one for like 2 seconds.
Sure. Driving home or the rugby one?
The rugby one. Let's do the rugby one.
Okay.
Oh no, I think the rugby one's an LSD trip. Like, don't worry about that one. What's the last
Oh,
one?
the last mall near you.
No, fuck. The one
Uh,
that's like the stranger.
oh, there's the smiling man.
Yeah, the smiling man.
Okay.
So this caught me on just the image that they had for it. I don't know if I hope they have it here. Can you scroll down a little bit? So PS1 graphics and like this retro style graphics are definitely in, right? Like we love this stuff. It's great. Um, a lot of work was put into just the branding on this game. Um, I think that it's an interesting title. I don't think it was doing a lot, and I think it could have done more. But it gave me some really great inspiration on just like, what if you had a game where you didn't realize, they never tell you that a character or NPC is actually following you, and so that the smiling man there, that's the image that caught me. Um, and it was very very engaging within that moment, right? I know kind of what I'm getting into here when I see it, but having like a story where like literally you're just walking around going about your day, and an NPC is you kind of keep catching a certain NPC that keeps showing up,
Yeah.
and it's just always in the corner of your eye. It's always, it's a little bit more like the G-Man, walking through Half-Life 2, and they're just there at random times just watching your progress. That to me would have been a lot scarier than this character like always chasing you or always being like right up in your face.
Yeah.
So the nice thing was is that again, like looking through these things and playing these things, if you are looking for inspiration, itch is a great place to go and just like, hey, like how can I just like generate some ideas? Like how can I play some experiences to quickly to get into to get into that ideation mode. So um,
Yeah.
Noxious Game Studios, keep going. I like it. I think again, just complete the game, get it there, see what the engagement is, and then maybe try to build that out into one bigger experience.
Yeah. It does have it's kind of basic analytics, but it'll tell you how well your game is doing over time and stuff.
Look, the
So,
only thing you need is downloads and comments.
yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you're seeing
Right.
people do that, then great. And
Yeah.
props to the YouTubers for sticking their YouTube links into the comment section so that people can just
Yeah.
see the gameplay and see that people are like playing it. I don't know, like those things feel more engaging, makes you kind of want to play the game a little bit more, or like it's more worth your time within
Yeah,
those.
that's something you don't see on Steam quite as much. But I guess since you can embed it, oh my god, it's like every other nearly every comment is a video. So
Yeah.
it's crazy.
But let's just get into the mobile industry stuff as
Let's
well.
do it.
So in the last bit, so this is could be a topic by all itself. But is there the top level points for this, or do we want to go point by point?
Probably just top level because we only have like 6 minutes or so, I'd say,
Okay.
or 10. But yeah, so Deconstructor of Fun did their article on their predictions, and they're all grim. There's like 8 points. They're all grim, but the number the number one thing that everything kind of revolves around is that organic discovery is gone on mobile.
Yeah.
This is huge. It basically means your game cannot go viral by itself.
Mm-hmm. or the K factor by itself is kind of dead. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can't get bumped up in the rankings as much as you could back in the day, and be able to be, if you can get a couple of organic traffic just through general searches, most people, what they're kind of alluding to here is that most people, 99% of people, are not really searching for games anymore. They're coming from advertisements. They're coming from Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, not even so much YouTube, but Google, and all around the place. So this is a problem for smaller game studios trying to make it in mobile. Um,
yeah.
the biggest thing here is that paid acquisition is the only way to get players into your titles, and what we would used to see, right, is that you spend a bit of money on your user acquisition. That would bump you up, in the downloads that you would get from there would bump you up in the rankings, and a proportion then you would start seeing of downloads would be organic traffic of you being pushed up in those rankings. Players would be able to kind of see you within the featured categories, within either any of the top 100 categories, top free, top grossing, top paid. But we don't have really great access to any of those things now. And there's a couple of changes here. IDFA is a big one. Obviously, not being able to, make, we have to make better choices on user acquisition. I think there's a point lower down about that too. But the App Store did change, like especially they became more individualistic, and they also tend to push the highest performers as well
Yeah.
too. And we're talking like the highest of high performers within these things
Subway surfers every day you see on there.
every day for forever, and it'll never go away. And you know what I mean? It's like, how many times, how many years do you need to see it for it to always just be on the top featured page, you
Yeah,
know?
it really reminds me of StarCraft Two's custom maps, where they bubbled only the popular ones, and they basically killed it because it was so hard to discover anything new. You just got bored
Yeah.
of custom maps.
And this is a big problem. I think that platforms need to look at this. Like these bigger companies need to look at this as a problem with their platforms. I
Yeah.
don't necessarily see this as a problem with individual games or individual studios. I just think that this is a general problem at all. And I'm dealing with this right now. We've just soft launched our game in New Zealand. 5 days, zero downloads. And we have dog. Dog is part of our SEO. So it's a little freaky deaky. So we're gonna start doing a very small tap of UA and see where that gets us to, and try getting some CPI numbers just straight off the bat.
Yeah. And bullet point number two, publishers push to off-platform payments. It's basically like, hey, people are trying to get away from the app stores. And now, even if you're not a mobile dev, this also is very relevant to Steam. And literally what we just did, which is people are like, you know what, Steam, I put a game on Steam and it only gets so much traction. Let's see if itch is maybe something that can help build a following before we actually put it on Steam. So there's all these like going straight to the main storefront is maybe not the best strategy, and certainly not in the future.
Yeah. Um, so platform cuts have been lowered for independent developers to 15% across Google and iOS. This is like up to 200,000 in revenue and gross revenue. But if players can't find your game, we're looking at much lower margins in terms of like what we can actually get. Uh, if we're trying to get around those things as much as possible and integrate those things with our brand and our brand profiles, a lot of the games are trying to figure out ways to move away from those things. And I think this is also a big push from e-commerce being a platform that, hey, like, we're selling things, but we're selling things in the app, and we're not necessarily paying that platform cut, right? It's only games that are doing that. You're on the Amazon app, you're not paying 30% to Apple for any of those purchases. So it comes down to like, hey, how do we better, drive traffic towards all of these things, get players kind of off of these platforms and migrate away and really fragment the industry a little bit more there too. So
Yeah. I don't know how indie can necessarily do it easily, but certainly the bigger companies will find ways.
well, yeah, like we're indie, but we also have outer sales into our
Oh,
websites and stuff like that too, and it's like we're trying to figure out the legality around all of those things too, but we seem pretty okay with it.
yeah. This third bullet point we can just gloss over. It says paid UA is just not as good as before. If you've been in the industry, you already know this. Like it's just getting ads are getting more and more expensive. It's harder and harder to make a cut,
Yeah,
uh, make a profit.
we're
So
paying more to get users in, and we're not necessarily seeing the returns, and then we're
yeah,
also not seeing the K factor off of organic traffic or anything else like that too.
yeah, the economies are going down. People are less willing to spend. It's just getting harder.
Yeah,
The fourth one is interesting, which is well, I mean, we've seen them. There's Netflix games, there's Apple Arcade, and more subscription stuff to come. And these are I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be on the rise. I don't really see any hits, and even the article says there haven't been very many hits here. But
yeah,
companies like Disney Plus, maybe they're going to make here's Disney games with all the games that are tied to our IPs.
yeah. The
That's
long
it.
the long and short here is that it's costing more and more to build a top app, whereas before you could spend about 2 million and be able to get an ROI of 10 to 100 million, depending on the quality of your game and life cycle of your product. Uh, the more that we are pushing down, and the more games that hit the app store constantly as this one source of truth or two sources of truth or whatever you want to call it, the the more problems that we're seeing on discoverability, the more it's costing then to get eyeballs in. So if you're a smaller studio, possibly publishing with one of these side things like trying to get into Apple Arcade, trying to get into Netflix or anything like that, they'll pay you for the
Yeah,
development of that game, which means that as a studio, the success of the game is not necessarily riding on the game being successful. The game can be successful for your studio at a studio level just purely based off of the deal that you're making, and that can give you legs and the capital that you need to continue forward, as a group, and really, try to find profitability.
yeah, it is definitely a legit business model. I've known quite a few studios now that have gone that route. So it's like I'm not gonna say it's like guaranteed money, but it's like it's better than in terms of uncertainty is better than throwing your game out and hoping it does well and
Yeah,
hoping that the life of your studio rides on this.
yeah, and if you can get there, it is kind of a little bit guaranteed money. You'll
Yeah,
get a deal. Like
yeah,
you'll get what they're gonna pay you to build that game into what it needs to be, and for their platforms. As I see it, as platforms fragment and we try to find new avenues for places for games to be, those places are going to be starving for content, and they want quality, and they want studios that and individuals that can really make a quality product and get it there. So they'll pay you for that opportunity to make their platform better.
exactly. Quick note from a designer side: this Hello Kitty icon here, Hello Kitty Happiness Parade on Apple Arcade is one of the most innovative games I've seen in a long time. I kid you not. And the problem is nobody plays it because it's on the Netflix. I don't know, for some reason the Netflix games just don't get very many plays, but that game is brilliant. But so we got like just 2 minutes, so I'm just gonna say, oh right, so streaming platforms moving to mobile games. VCs, good luck if people are going down this route.
Yeah. Uh,
And then remote is going less. I don't know about this prediction, but we'll see. And lastly, where'd it go? You might get laid off. So, any last comments on these? Any of those four?
I think that we've seen enough shrinkage in tech that uh, within the big four or the big five, I guess, if you want to do it within the fan groups and external to all of those things too. Um, Depending on how the U.S. economy continues to turn, we had a Q4 uptick in GDP. Whether that translates into more profit or loss or anything for bigger these bigger monopolies, then maybe you might keep your job. But we'll see. If you're an old head in a studio, I would expect to be on the chopping block on the next round of if it comes up within your studio. The problem is that if we're still a hits driven industry, it'll always be a hits driven industry. If the game cost of game development is going up and profitability is lower, you know, we might see just like constant layoff cycles now, like we saw in like 2008 and 2010, where a game ships, but then we instantly have layoffs right after that, and then a small skeleton team has to basically carry the torch forward into profitability. Um,
Yeah.
the annoying thing is that as CEO, like corporate board wages rise, we're not seeing the necessarily the money coming back to individuals, but you know there's just it's a scary time. It's a scary time out there.
You guys are gonna get replaced by AI. Let's
That's
just
not
be real
happening.
here. Or replaced by a VTuber.
Yeah, QV troopers, absolutely. Hell yeah, 100%. This might be how I take my meetings today.
It's already set up by the
It's already set up. I might just take my meetings like this now. This might just be it.
All right, we're out of time.
But yeah, thanks, Calvin.
Yep, yep.